Welcome to the Leafs Power Dump. Power Dump.
There it is.
There would all be the kind of opening theme, right? And the graphics would be playing right now.
Yeah. January 14th and a 5-4 overtime win last night. That was a bit of a dog's breakfast, though, eh?
It wasn't pretty, but it was fun to watch sometimes.
Yeah, well, there was no warm-up games, and that you can tell. Like, you remember last year when William Nylander didn't have any. Actually, William Nylander, he's a new guy. I like him. I haven't seen his skill level before, so he's going to be a good addition to the team, I think. No, you remember it took him a while to kind of get up to speed with the guys when he was sitting out, and it kind of seemed like there was a lot of that going on. The guys were a little bit slow off the jump. It felt like, at least in the first period or so, Joe was a little bit lost out there, didn't know where to go, front of the net, back of the net, positioning. They'll get the handle on that. We talked about how we beefed up defensively and stuff, and I didn't feel a ton of that last night, but I know we'll get there. But yeah, overall, take the W off a fucking shitty team like that. Well, it always feels good to go to sleep with a boner,
I was just happy.
There's a remedy for that. There's a way.
Yeah, right.
You sleep even better.
First bit looked a little rough. It was a little. I think on both sides, but we looked a little bit rougher than they did. I feel like. Mm-hmm. We had good ideas, but the passes weren't connecting, and they seemed to be like waist height a lot of times, and it was a bit. It oddly felt like they were trying to perform for a crowd that wasn't there. That home opener where it's like, oh, we're going to try too hard and put on a show, and it almost felt like there was some of those things going on where it was like a couple of passes that they just weren't paying attention, and then as they settled in, and I think kind of the Simmons thing was a turning point.
Platinums are empty. That should make them feel more comfortable, don't you think? As the game starts, looking around and seeing nobody at ice level is kind of a common thing for the Leaf games.
The weird thing about the Simmons thing is after the fight, he's like, trying to get the crowd into it almost. It's like they're looking around for.
I think he was hyping the bench.
I think he was hyping the bench.
Yeah, I think he was chirping his own bench. Like he was like, look at me, yeah. Let's do this kind of thing.
Yeah, I feel like we caught a good break there obviously we did with Shea Weber flipping it over the glass.
The ref with the nice little deflection to
nice bouncer
in front.
Yeah, but I kind of love the Weber one because, he's got that great shot, but I always say he can never hit the net, so he couldn't even hit the glass when he was trying to do that, for God's sake.
By times they looked great, and by times they looked absolutely terrible. Kind of like an engine with bad gas. Like sometimes it was trying, and then you get like 2 minutes of like, wow, they just like came out of their zone, pushed through the neutral zone, and like pressed for like 45 seconds. And then they do a change and they would have to get their momentum back. Like it felt like every change sucked the life out of them. And the too many men on the ice thing, like that felt like I was watching Tim Hortons hockey.
Yeah, that was
the bench.
That was
everybody's getting off and on the bench, and everybody's like it just looked like a donkey show.
That was a preseason play for sure. It was like,
what? And then he plays it.
Yeah, I know he played it because it looked like it was coming so slow too. He's like, what do I do with it?
And then what did he do? He knocked it off the boards to himself.
I know.
And it wasn't like he flipped it towards the net for a breakaway or anything like that.
Nothing. He just controlled it. And the thing is, dude was off the bench, saw it happen, hopped back over the board.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Jesus.
Biggest surprise player? Like, who did you feel like was somebody like, oh, all right, cool.
I'm digging Simmons. I thought he was fast. I thought he was, aggressive.
Yeah. Well, he's tied for the lead in penalty minutes.
Well, him and Bogosian. Bogo got a couple there, and I was like, I'm hoping to see more out of him. I want to see him. Maybe there's a few people I think that are doubting whether he's going to be a guy to stick on the team and get good minutes and really help us out. But I like his size and I like his toughness. I hope he doesn't take dumb penalties. It was nice to see him in Dermott. I think that could work well. But it seemed like Keefe was also switching up. He seemed to be kind of like willing to experiment throughout the entire game.
Yeah.
Because at one point Dermott and Hall were playing together. He was definitely going back to putting Hyman with Marner and Matthews, which that just feels like, your favorite pair of jeans or something, where it's just like,
Right.
okay, that's going to work. Like,
Yeah.
and on those shifts where they played, it's like, okay, it's starting to go that way. So
Yep.
What do you guys think? What do you think the defense felt like? Compared to last year. I wonder what its personality is going to be like. Are we going to be tough and reliable, or are we going to be frightening on the power play, or are we going to be quick moving? And like I haven't
So
really.
far, those are all positive things. What about are we going to seem like we're dragging sandbags, or are we going to find ourselves in a clump in front of our goalie?
Well, guys are saying, the guys in the team were saying our defense is greatly improved, and it kind of stopped there. And I was like, well, like how? Like what? I know who we got rid of and what those concerns might be, but I haven't put my finger on it because I haven't seen enough of Bogosian and Brody on the team yet to see how they're going to fit in with our guys and how that'll be. But
didn't actually feel like I saw a lot of Brody for some reason.
yeah,
Like I don't know what his ice time was, but I didn't feel yet like he played it safe. Maybe just kind of first game, didn't want to have the big cough up or whatever, and didn't see a lot of the fourth line. It didn't feel like either.
no, but I liked when I saw
two
them.
guys. Yeah, I was happy to see Barbershop or whatever his name is, block a shot there at a key point, and but I didn't feel like I saw a whole lot of them. But
I agree. I think the word I described the defense so far is like reliable, but at the beginning of the game, it almost didn't feel like that. There were some. Muzzin had one shift where he kind of seemed to be fighting the puck and things like that. I think again, we'll see over the next 5 to 7 games. You can't really wait 10 games in a 56 game season to figure things out.
No.
When, as they were saying last night, it never occurred to me, but basically every game is a 2-point game because all of your points are within your division.
Yeah.
So
you
like
do 3 in a row, you're screwed.
in the overtime games, the extra point in overtime games, you have some team like that can make a big difference too.
I thought, I thought our 3-on-3 looked
3 points.
really good. Speaking of that, I thought the 3-on-3 was like,
yeah, that's never been a problem, right?
I mean, that just looked great.
Since we're forced into overtime because of our failures so often, we get good at it after a little while.
Oh, and here I thought you were going to say, because we tend to double up our penalties so much, our 3 game is pretty tight.
Well, we got lots of guys with wheels, but I think Montreal is a faster team than, we've got something to prove for sure. Montreal has been sort of pretty lousy for a little while, so they've got something to prove. What's going to be interesting in the division is a team like Ottawa that everyone's like, they suck. They got no hope.
Oh, fuck. I don't know. Okay. Top 4 then.
Nothing to lose. They've got nothing to lose. Nobody has any expectation.
Never go up against the team with nothing to lose.
Exactly. So
who do you think will be the top 4 in the division then?
Well, that's a tough one.
For the Canadian division. You got to say obviously the Leafs, and then I'm
going to go Leafs
in order.
Oh,
and accurately.
I haven't done enough research yet.
Well, a couple more dumps and you'll feel better.
Yeah, exactly. I need to do some more dumps. But I'm going to pick Toronto, Calgary, Edmonton, and Montreal. Although that's tough though, man. Like Winnipeg, who knows?
Vancouver.
I know.
And it's not. I don't think Ottawa's going to give you an easy night. I'm dark horsing those guys. Like I would say, Ottawa, Vancouver, and Calgary are going to battle out.
Yeah.
Unless we get on a shitty slide, right? Like that's the thing. Sometimes it gets ugly for 5 games.
Yeah.
And then you're like, what?
Even last night, it was kind of a sloppy game. It was a bit gross, but we pulled out the win. We dug in, and I think that's
3-1 against Carey Price. When the fuck do you usually win a game like that?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that has to do with a lot of the veteran presence of guys that we do have those dudes, whether it's Simmons last night doing a fight and being like, fuck it, let's go. Or Joe.
That new guy, Nylander.
Yeah. Let's talk about him for a second.
Uh-oh.
Man, those shots. I mean, he's always had a good shot, but did you guys watch the blue and white game?
No.
He was like playing that like it was a real
hardcore fans.
Real game. Yeah, and I saw him playing both ends of the ice. He was engaged.
Like both ends, like as in the right and the left hand side of the offensive zone.
he can back check. He just doesn't do it with his body. He's never going to be a body checker, but he will pluck the puck off your stick.
Yeah.
So
Favorite current Leaf, go.
Freaking John Tavares is awesome. I just want to say that he's just such a quiet leader. He sort of reminds me of those classic guys like Yzerman and Sakic, that I would point my son towards and say, play like that guy and your dad will be proud. Like he seems to be sportsmanlike and dedicated to the game, good dressing room guy. These are things I guess, but so I don't think we've fully seen what his capabilities are and what he's going to do here on the Leafs yet. And I think this is going to be a big breakout year for Tavares as far as leadership goes. And
I'd agree with that. I think the older guys they brought into the team, there's no threat to his leader that he's the leader or the captain, but I think it's a motivator to be like, yeah, I am the alpha guy here because they chose me and I have these guys to rely on. But I think he'll be elevated by the fact that you've got a Simmons and a Thornton and even a Bogosian to be there, being like that surrounding leadership group is a little different. And I think that's going to elevate all the other guys too. So
who's your guy?
I'm still a Matthews. I want to see where this kid goes. What is he? 23, 20? I don't know.
He's a baby.
He's still so young. And what I thought was interesting last night was seeing him get pissed off. And that hasn't happened a ton. And him breaking his stick on another guy in a cross check was like, all right, well, he's a big boy. He's trained more. He's filled out more.
Freaking thighs.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. Weber and Sherratt's cross checks, man, those were hardcore, and he was feeling them, and that was nasty. I mean, you're gonna cross check a guy, but holy smokes, those were serious. But this is gonna also be great. I mean, 9 more games against the Habs. Yeah, this tension already starting to happen, so it's gonna be fun. But yeah, I'm Matthews is still my current favorite, and hopefully he goes into beast mode for the whole season.
John?
My underdog favorite is Soup Mikheyev. After a season he had last year where he was, coming on and going to be a real presence on the team, and then that injury, this year I'm kind of cheering for him to find a spot. And I feel as though he's been pushed down because of some new arrivals. But, hopefully he reacts to that and kind of climbs back up on one of the top 2 lines. Same with Hyman. Cool. Hyman feels like his role's been adjusted, and we'll see how he reacts to that.
Yeah, it's amazing when you see a guy, the difference, even when the World Juniors were watching that as well. That's the last hockey we're looking at just before this started. You start seeing some of these guys are so good. And when you see a guy like Mikheyev, even though he goes down on a pretty clear breakaway or an open chance on a goalie and you don't bury it, seems kind of weird, and that's when I start, like Kapanen did that too. I used to see that consistently where I'm like, man, where's that killer instinct to just put the puck away? I'd like to see Mikheyev do that this year, and just if he doesn't do that this year, then start shopping him.
I mean, it was Kapanen, it was all speed, and then he'd get down there and not be able to finish it, right?
Yeah.
You see Kerfoot, like the speed Kerfoot had on that one move where he just, blew past the defenseman, but then didn't finish.
I think Mikheyev can do it for sure, because I like his work ethic and his dedication, and I think he's got better hands than Kapanen. So I think there's the potential there. I was actually kind of expecting to see him on with Nylander and Tavares, but it's interesting that they put VC up there. I think that's just like, that could be an early season thing to be like, what do we have in this guy? He's supposed to be good. He's got tons of potential. Is he the guy that can pull this off? But I also thought that they were going to pair him up with Kerfoot because they had played together in college and they were like a dynamic duo at that point. And so it was interesting to sort of see that they split that up. Third line checker now. So
yeah.
Well, I'm going with Wayne Simmons. I like him.
He's your favorite guy? Favorite Leaf?
Yep. He's moving. He's dropped gloves and threw a fight just because. It just felt like, oh, this is 10 years ago. This is hockey worth watching.
Yeah.
Which leads me to my historical classic favorite Leaf, Gary Roberts. Like, it felt to me like he's sort of invoking the spirit of Gary Roberts. Like,
muck around in front of the net.
Yeah, he's a winger. He's got bidirectional sort of movement. He gets back pretty fast, but at the same time, don't push him around. And when he catches you, he'll make you pay. He'll push you off the puck from behind. Like he's just going to show up and ruin your day. So
I liked how he looked at. He looked like he was having fun. He looked like he was
yeah.
happy to be part of Toronto.
Well, he's a hometown boy. He's from Scarborough.
Yeah, man. And like the Instagram feeds afterwards, there's some great shots. There's one at the end of the game, and him and Freddie are locked in this big hug. And it's like, man, that's like, and he's a new guy, you know. And
Yeah.
Freddie's been there and I think that probably the things that are being said are like, hey, man, we made it through. Don't worry about the goals. Let's just go, you know.
Yeah.
So.
You know, when your hands get over 30 years old, you don't want to be punching plastic. I saw when he popped Sherrod's helmet off, and I just went, oh man, that's gotta hurt. You know, like,
Yeah,
you can't do too many of those. And he talked even when he joined the team, hey, there's not a lot of fighting in the league. I don't expect to do it a lot. And then he goes out there and the team needs a wake up call. And that's what was missing on the team. That's a guy. And you can even seems like when he skates on the ice, he's got this sort of excitement about him.
Yeah, he's happy to be there. He's enthusiastic.
Yeah.
Riley's quote at the end of the game was great. He's terrifying, and I'm glad he's on our team.
Yeah, right.
My favorite Leaf, I think, of all time is a captain, and it's got to be Wendell. It's just like, that was when Wendell got drafted. You know, I went through those years of Sittler and Salming and Palmatier and the tough times of Harold Ballard and all that. Here we go. And it was like, oh my God, we got the first overall, and this guy, and he just came out like a wrecking ball and started to change everything for the team. And what is he, 5'9", 5'10"?
Yeah.
And taking on Bob Probert and not losing and sometimes winning, and like that. And
watching
also,
him pull guys down to punch them out was so great.
And the wrist shot, that wrist shot, and coming in with that 34 goals in the rookie season, and just. That was it. If you got the puck in a certain spot, you're like, I'm pretty sure it's going in.
Yeah.
The 93 series and stuff, like Marty McSorley and all. Yeah, it's great. I mean, he played with so many other great Leafs that I love over those times too. So, Wendell.
I mean, for me, it's, as you said, as a kid, it's like Salming, Turnbull, Sittler, McDonald, that whole vintage. And Salming for me was the number one, probably because he was the story of the European. And as you said, tough, and the stuff he put up with when they played Clark and the Flyers and that kind of stuff is just, garbage in hindsight, right? Like, yeah. And, changed the league for sure. Always liked Potvin, great goalie. Dropped the gloves once or twice, famously.
That was a beauty.
Fights.
The Ron Hextall, and everyone knows Hextall's a badass, and this quiet Leaf goalie, the cat, comes down and just thumps the shit out of him.
Yeah. So he'd be my favorite in that era, the era where they, the Gilmore Anderchuk, that era. Yeah, I would say Salming if I had to pick one.
Well, he's still the Leafs career record holder for points for defensemen, probably goals for defensemen as well, and the Leafs record holder for most stitches.
Facial stitches.
Certainly in a single sitting. What was it, 200 when he had him in his face? It looked like Frankenstein.
Z-Man, what are you saying?
I like Pat Boutet,
Class.
Inge Hammerstrom. These are the guys that I grew up looking up to.
Brian Glennie.
Jack Valiquette.
Yeah.
Or Errol Thompson.
See, now we're having fun.
I'm trying to picture the hockey cards in my head. I'm like, here's the third string guy on the Leafs that I was like,
my wife's maiden name
George
is
Ferguson.
And that's not,
So your wife's maiden name is what?
Turnbull.
Turnbull. Oh,
hey man, 5 goals in one game by a defenseman.
Yeah. I still play pick up hockey, and when I'm on a team and they're throwing shirts around, I always pick 21. So I play defense. I always looked up to Salming, and I'd say for most of my life, he was my favorite player. And then, obviously I love Wendell too. Like, that was the thing. I think that was the one thing that you could point to, even though the team didn't do well. We always used to say, yeah, but we got Wendell, and he was something that everybody wanted. So it's just the way that he played as well too. And actually, here's a name drop. My cousin married Dave Keon Jr. I don't know if you guys knew that.
yeah, cool.
So when I first moved to Toronto, I didn't have a job. I was like 22 years old or something like that, and I needed a place to work. And I went and saw my cousin Linda at the Gardens. There was exhibition games were on. She met me outside, gave me some tickets, and then she said, "Hey, why don't you come and get a job as an usher?" And I went back and got a job, and that was 92, 93, and 93, 94. That was prior to them moving over to the Air Canada Center. I worked, my job during the day, and I worked there at night. And watching, I think, Doug Gilmour and getting to see that many games with watching guys without the puck. I think that was the biggest thing. Mm-hmm. And to see how the play developed and how players played that regularly without the puck, you knew what Dave Anderchuk was going to do. He's going to skate down the ice and stand in front of the net. And you knew what Dave Ellett was going to do. He was going to get the puck and fire it at the front of the net. And then you knew what Wendell was going to do, and he was going to guard his wing. But fucking Dougie was everywhere, man. Like, he was taking face-offs, and then he played the wing, and then he played the power play, then he played the penalty kill, and then he's blocking shots, and then he's getting in a fight. Like, he could seem like he could do everything, win face-offs, and he was small. He was super small. And I think all those things put together just makes a guy who's just hockey kind of flowing out of his veins and everything like that. He was just amazing. So I love Dougie, man. And
so Dougie's your guy?
Yeah, he's my guy. It's hard pick, because of all those other, because I'm a natural D, and because I love Wendell so much. But Gilmour just lifted a team full of super skilled players on his shoulders, throughout those playoffs. And I've never seen anybody do that like that in person before.
He played like a man possessed, like that. Mm-hmm. That is that's what's so great about those runs too, is watching any of that stuff back now. It's just like, holy shit, man. Like, and no wonder Don Cherry was so high on him as well. Like, the best player in the league, in the world right now.
He did that in Calgary. He did that. Yeah. He did that where he went, and in Jersey. That was his way.
And so tomorrow night we've got Ottawa, and Saturday night Ottawa. Right?
Back-to-backs. What are you calling for scores?
Ooh, I never do predictions. I'm like the Bob McKenzie on this panel. I never do predictions.
We're going to go undefeated in January.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think we're going to lose the first game against Ottawa with Freddie in, win the second one with Campbell in, and then we'll have a goalie controversy for the next 2 weeks.
You're right.
I love how you're throwing out that, and you're probably not wrong. And the drama, I'm on a couple of Leafs groups, and like last night after the first period, there was like, oh, get rid of Freddie. And like, people were just panicking and losing.
Yeah, we got to pick up our pace, guys, because we got to throw guys under the bus like right away. Like,
yeah, exactly.
We don't have the luxury of sitting around and ruminating.
Oh, Thornton, we should have got Perry. Like, what were we thinking?
Yeah, so this is the first lockdown edition of Leafs Power Dump.
Yeah.
We should throw an official, like, all right, see you guys later, blah, 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 great doing it.
Remember to subscribe, click the subscribe button,
like and subscribe.
Check out our merch.
Yeah.
Awesome. If you like us, thumbs up.
Yep. Get us wherever you get your podcasts.
Yep.
I guess we better get the logo done, huh?
Yeah, logo would be good. You're listening to Leafs Power Dump.
Nice.
Get fibrous. Leafs Power Dump podcast is Kirk Connery, Chad Maker, Paul Zimick, and John Galway. Copyright 2021 Firewallet Productions.